Okay, put down Skyrim, seriously, uninstall it. We have been making jokes about re-releases for 15 years. We have analyzed every single pixel of that teaser trailer, but the wait is finally over. The king of RPGs is back. The Elder Scrolls 6 takes us to Hammerfell, and the difference in scale here is mind-blowing. Remember how big Whiterun felt back in the day? The cities here feel like actual functioning metropolises. You get lost in the winding streets of Sentinel, where you can actually see the heat waves coming off the sand. And because it is Hammerfell, the environment is your biggest enemy. You are managing stamina in the desert heat, survival mechanics are baked in, and the world just feels hostile in the best way possible. But the gameplay, it is the glow-up we needed. The combat finally has weight. It's not just flailing a sword at a hitbox anymore. There's a parry system, there's directional blocking, and sword singing, the ancient Redguard magic, lets you summon weapons made of pure spirit. It feels fast, fluid, and incredibly satisfying. In the magic system, it interacts with everything. You can freeze water to walk over it or call down a lightning storm that actually spreads through metal armor. What really makes this special, though, is that classic Bethesda freedom. You can ignore the main quest immediately. You want to be a pirate sailing the Iliac Bay? Do it. You want to run a blacksmith shop and mess with the economy? Go ahead. It's the ultimate live another life simulator. It's buggy, it's chaotic, and it's absolutely glorious. But as you're exploring a deep crypt, thinking you've found some legendary loot, you find a black door with a skull on it, and a voice whispers a question you haven't heard in a very long time. Imagine Conan Exiles had a baby with a sci-fi blockbuster, but everything wants to kill you every 5 seconds. That is Dune Awakening. We are finally getting the full console release this year, and it is brutal. You start with nothing on Arrakis. You have to find water, build a base, and avoid getting eaten by sandworms the size of skyscrapers. The open world here is unique because it changes. Massive sandstorms actually shift the map, burying your old locations and revealing new loot. The combat involves a mix of melee and high-tech gadgets, but the real game is politics. You can join guilds, control the spice trade, and literally ruin the economy for other players. It is hardcore, it is stressful, and it is incredibly addictive. Speaking of massive worlds, what if I told you the next game gives you an entire planet that is actually Earth-sized? Bond is back, and this time it is not just a linear shooter. The creators of Hitman have given us the ultimate spy playground. 007 First Light is an origin story. You are playing as a young James Bond earning his 00 status. Because this is from IO Interactive, the gameplay is all about choice. You have these massive, open sandbox levels where you can approach your target however you want. Want to go in guns blazing? You can. Want to sneak through the vents and use a laser watch to hack a door? You can do that too. The stealth mechanics are top tier. You are blending into crowds, eavesdropping on conversations, and using the environment to take enemies out. It feels smart. It makes you feel like the coolest person in the room. However, if you prefer swords over silencers, this next RPG is going to blow your mind. I remember watching the trailer for this and thinking, there is no way the game actually plays like that. Well, Crimson Desert is here, and it is absolutely wild. You play as Macduff, a mercenary in a gritty, war-torn continent. The combat here is not just hack and slash, it is wrestling, it is magic, it is environmental chaos. You can literally tackle enemies off cliffs or climb onto the back of a boss monster while it is trying to shake you off. It feels physical and heavy. The open world is gorgeous, but dangerous. It's not just about quests, it's about survival and leading your band of mercenaries. The graphics are next level, pushing your hardware to the limit. It is chaotic fun that makes you feel like a medieval action hero. But sometimes you do not want grit. Sometimes you just want a fairy tale with a dark sense of humor. We asked for it for years, and they finally did it. Forza Horizon 6 takes the festival to Japan, and it is beautiful. The map is a masterpiece. You have the neon-lit streets of Tokyo for intense night street races, and then you have the winding mountain roads of the Toge for drifting. The car culture in Japan is legendary, and this game captures it perfectly. The drifting mechanics have been tweaked to feel even smoother. Visually, it is the best-looking racing game ever made. The way the neon signs reflect on wet pavement in the rain is just chef's kiss. It is relaxing, yet high energy. You can just cruise with your friends listening to the radio or sweat it out in competitive races. But maybe you want to trade your car for a horse and a katana.
If you loved Ghost of Tsushima, you are going to lose it over Ghost of Yotei. We are moving past Jin Sakai to a new hero, Atsu, in the lands surrounding Mount Yotei. The year is 1603 and the vibe is very different. It is more wild, more lawless. The wind guiding mechanic is back, which is still the best way to explore an open world without a cluttered HUD. The sword combat is as lethal as ever. One wrong move and you are dead. But they've added dual wielding and firearms, which completely changes the flow of a fight. The world is stunning, filled with grassland, snowy peaks, and wandering ronin. It is not just a game, it is art. And finally, we have to talk about the return of a sci-fi legend. We thought the story was finished. We thought we would never see a world this dark and beautiful again. But CD Projekt Red has finally returned to the continent, and they are not messing around. This is the beginning of a new saga. We have moved on from Geralt to a new protagonist from the School of the Lynx, and the shift to Unreal Engine 5 makes this arguably the best-looking open-world game in existence. The snow physics alone are mind-blowing. When you are tracking a monster through a blizzard and you see the fur on your armor reacting to the wind, you realize this is next-gen. But the biggest upgrade is the combat. Let's be honest, combat was the weak point of Wild Hunt. Here, it is fluid, it is brutal, and it is fast. You are mixing sword strikes with quick cast signs seamlessly. You actually feel like a genetically mutated monster hunter. And the writing? It is still the gold standard. You will take a random contract from a village notice board, and 3 hours later, you are embroiled in a political conspiracy that changes the fate of a kingdom. It is gritty, it is mature, and it is the RPG we have all been waiting for. But while hunting monsters requires silver swords and magic, sometimes you need to trade that heavy armor for a tuxedo and a silenced pistol. Forget what you think you know about licensed games, because the sequel to Outlaws has officially turned the galaxy into the ultimate scoundrels playground. Ubisoft took every single piece of feedback from the first game and dialed it up to 11. We are talking about a massive, seamless open world that spans across multiple iconic planets. And this time, the Wanted system is actually terrifying. If you mess with the Empire too much, they don't just send a few troopers, they send an Inquisitor to hunt you across the stars. The space-to-planet transition is faster than ever, and the dogfighting feels like a standalone flight sim. But the real heart of the game is the underworld. You are constantly balancing your reputation between the Hutts, the Pikes, and the Crimson Dawn. One wrong move on a heist and you'll find a bounty on your head that makes every cantina in the Outer Rim a death trap. The stealth is sharper, the blaster combat has more oomph, and your companion, Nyx, actually has a full skill tree now. It feels like living out your own Han Solo movie, but with way more explosions and much higher stakes. It's the best Star Wars experience we've had in years. But if you're tired of dodging blaster bolts and want to dive into a world of massive online politics and brutal ship-to-ship combat, you need to see this. Believe it or not, the game we thought was a myth is finally here, and it is absolutely massive. We are talking about an open world that literally spans an entire solar system, and it is the most ambitious thing I have ever played. In Beyond Good and Evil 2, you aren't just confined to one map. You have your own customized spaceship, and you can fly from the surface of a crowded, neon-drenched city right through the atmosphere and into deep space with zero loading screens.
The scale is hard to describe. You can be exploring a tiny underground slave lab one minute and then be docking at a massive space station the next. The world is gritty, it's vibrant, and it's full of that weird, beautiful DNA that made the original a cult classic. The gameplay is a total hybrid. You've got third-person melee combat, tactical shooting, and some of the best spaceflight mechanics in the industry. But the real hook is the crew. You are a space pirate, and you have to recruit characters from all over the system, each with their own backstories and skills. It feels like a mix of Grand Theft Auto and Mass Effect, but on a scale that makes both of them look small. It's a game about freedom, rebellion, and discovery. It is a masterpiece of world building that actually lives up to the decade of hype. But while flying through the stars is incredible, sometimes you want to stay grounded and experience a map where the culture is just as loud as the engines. If you think you've seen fast combat, you are not ready for this. Phantom Blade Zero is what happens when you mix dark samurai style with the speed of a high-octane action movie, and it is absolute madness. You play as Soul, an elite assassin who has been framed and only has 66 days left to live. The open world is a phantom world that mixes traditional Chinese mythology with weird, steampunk-like machines. It's gritty, it's raining half the time, and every corner feels like it's hiding a duel that could end your run. The movement is the star here. You are running up walls, sliding under blades, and parrying attacks that come at you like lightning. The developers called it Kung Fu Punk, and that fits perfectly. You aren't just mashing buttons, you are choosing between dozens of weapons that all have their own weight and flow. One minute you're using a massive broadsword to break guards, and the next you're switching to dual blades to shred through a boss. It feels like a Souls-like, but with the speed turned up to 200%. It's a brutal, beautiful journey through a world that's literally dying along with you. But while you're fighting for your life in the mud and blood, there's a massive city on the other side of the world where the real power is held by those with the best tech and the least mercy.